You know, I feel bad for all the people that are typing up Sonic and Shadow and realize it's not what they're looking for. But yeah, I mean, as if the YouTube algorithm hasn't been, teasing this for a while now. Sonic and Shadow Generations. A very expected yet unexpected announcement in regards to Sega in terms of remastered Sonic content, in terms of all new content, and overall just giving more spotlight to Shadow the Hedgehog, because in case you remember, this is a year of Shadow, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, man, can't wait for that HD remaster of Shadow the Hedgehog coming soon in summer of 2024. That's gonna happen. But back to Sonic and Shadow Generations, or Sonic X Shadow Generations. I don't know, it's like the whole Spy X family debacle, but regardless, we're back with Sonic Generations. And like I said, this has been teased via leaks and whatnot ever since the State of Play was announced, and Sonic fans decided to be like, oh hey, let's hack the computer and find the computer room. And realize that, oh, Sega has plans for a remastered Sonic Generations, which is honestly pretty good. I mean, you can't complain. The fact that we're able to again play a game that was already considered one of the best 3D Sonic games of its time, and one of the best there is, so much so that you could basically get it on Game Pass and also on the PC with mods. So Sega realizing that, hey, let's just keep milking this game and give Shadow content on top of it, I think it was like the perfect move. And that right there is what I really want to talk about the most, because aside from the fact that we're obviously getting a remastered version of Sonic Generations, which, visually speaking, we can talk about a little bit, and they're not really going to do much about that. The whole position here that I have in terms of Sonic and Shadow Generations is the emphasis on Shadow here, because like I said, this is a year of Shadow. Notwithstanding the fact that we have Sonic Movie 3 coming this December, we also have this and possibly plenty of other projects in regards to Shadow the Hedgehog that we may or may not know about. So here with Sonic and Shadow Generations, I'm more excited for all the Shadow content that they possibly are teasing with this one trailer. And so to give a little bit of some theories here and there, some possibilities of how I think they are trying to give into the Shadow content for Sonic and Shadow Generations, obviously we gotta look at the gameplay, because they're definitely leaning into some of the elements that they kind of dipped their toes on back when they did the Shadow DLC for Sonic Forces. So they're kind of doing a version of that, but obviously make it a little bit more better and not boost to win, much like that DLC. So we're definitely gonna have a more advanced version of Hedgehog Engine 2 Shadow here. It's going to be an absolute blast. What I'm very excited about this portion of Sonic Generations is how many stages do they have planned for Shadow, and whether or not we're going to see bosses from Shadow the Hedgehog, Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic Heroes. What exactly does Shadow have in terms of his content for his generation portion of, well, being a playable character? Because you have to remind yourselves that Shadow as a playable character is not as consistent as Sonic, where Sonic was able to get that amount of acts and zones for Sonic Generations back in 2011, but here we gotta play around with a couple of rehashes, more or less, to kind of put a descriptor here in regards to what can Shadow stages be like. Are they all gonna be Shadow the Hedgehog related? Are they all gonna be Sonic Adventure 2 related? Are we gonna see some from Sonic 06 when we had the Shadow campaign, or maybe some from Sonic Forces for some reason, even though timeline wise that doesn't make any sense, but maybe some original levels that kind of incorporates Shadow as a person. There's so many opportunities to really give the spotlight to Shadow here, is what I'm saying, and that's what I really want this particular remaster to be about. Not so much about the fact that, yes, we're playing Sonic Generations again for the 69th time, but rather we get to finally play a Shadow the Hedgehog after 2006. That's how long it's been. On top of that, I also wonder what the story for Shadow's portion of this entire remaster is going to be about, because if there's one thing about Sonic Generations, and I think Pariah really highlighted these points, in such a way that made a lot of sense, Sonic Generations doesn't have a story. It's a basic premise with a basic plot of Sonic going through his 15 years of being the blue blur of speed with classic Sonic, and you beat Eggman or Eggmen. At the end of the day is all saved, everybody's celebrating Sonic's birthday, and classic Sonic pisses off to the moon and ends up going to Sonic Mania, and then Sonic Forces happens about a few years later. That's basically what Sonic Generations is as a plot. It's going through the motions of all the reminiscent memories of, the games that we used to play back in the day with Sonic, and it all leads up to that moment in time. So with Shadow, in regards to a possible storyline here, I want to see more of him uncovering his past, something a little bit more, edgy in terms of his character, which I'm not exaggerating there. I really want a more, darker spin of his character and eventually make him lead up to the point where he meets up with Rouge. And then he's like, you got this, Sonic, towards like that cutscene of Sonic Generations, towards that final boss fight, I want to see him kind of have like a Into the Spider-Verse kind of situation where he's going through the motions of like dealing with so much baggage, and that's kind of like his stages where it's it's like cyberspace for Sonic Frontiers, but you have Shadow for this portion of the game. I think I lost a lot of people there when I said that, but hey, I think my line of reasoning is making a little bit of sense here. But aside from all that, I'm still very hyped for this remaster, because another thing about this remastered is it's not just for PC, it's not just for PS5, but you also have it for the Nintendo Switch, and that's absolutely phenomenal because Sonic on Switch has been blessed with tons of games out there, ranging from Mania, with Origin, Sonic Forces, despite what we have to say about that one, and obviously Sonic Frontiers. So now, and Superstars, we can't forget about that one too. So seeing Sonic Generations on the Nintendo console is pretty cool to see. And I love how they're really giving Shadow a lot more of a spotlight this time around, because he truly deserves it. Like, let's be real. Everybody who grew up with Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2 knew that their favorite character was forever going to be Shadow the Hedgehog. I'm evidence of that because after playing Sonic Adventure 2 as a kid and then playing Sonic Heroes and Shadow the Hedgehog, I grew up with that trifecta of, Sonic games. I absolutely love Shadow the Hedgehog. He's a very complex character, which is funny because we're talking about a bunch of furry characters here. Like, that is insane as a statement, but hey, Freddy being in Fortnite might be a possible statement. Like, you get what I'm saying? It might be exaggerated, but it kind of makes a lot of sense. So with Shadow here, everybody loved him for the cool and edgy nature that he had. He wasn't just broody all the time. He had like a charisma to him. He had like a level of confidence that was equally as good as Sonic's, if not a hell of a lot better, because he was like the ultimate life form. And he found his purpose at the end of Sonic Adventure 2, and then being in Sonic Heroes and Shadow the Hedgehog, and then Sonic 06 with his story campaign. He was an awesome character. He is an awesome character if you look at what they've done with him in Sonic Prime. So this is an absolutely amazing opportunity to really retcon a lot of stuff with Shadow and bring him back to his glory days, much like how they brought Sonic to his glory days with Sonic Frontiers. So this is what I see in Sonic and Shadow Generations. This is what I hope Sega accomplishes at the end of the day. And honestly, if they don't, it's still very fun to be able to play as Shadow after almost 17 long years. But besides all of that, Sonic fans, Sonic Twitter, Sonic community, if this happens to be on your doorstep, have a fun time with this one. I really want to see your thoughts and opinions down below. Get the engagement rate going for this video. Push this one out, because trust me, I think I have a lot to say. I have a lot to throw to the table in regards to Sonic and Shadow Generations, and it's going to be a very fun time. Autumn of 2024, that's going to be more or less like August, September, and given that we're already in February, you blink and it's there. So very excited for this. Throw your thoughts down below. It's the end of the video when I am about to say roll the outro. So yeah, roll the outro. Peace out. Bye bye.